As we move forward with technology and the concerns of global warming, we are in the need to find better solutions to help the planet. But are all the cures helpful, or are they hurting our planet? Hello, my name is Rudy Skultety. Today, I'm going to talk to you about the pros and cons of biofuel. I'm stationed at Lackland Air Force Base, and I'm in the Air Force. I'm going to discuss a study researching respiratory disorders with kids living near railroads. Also, research done with city buses and biofuels, and the test of the emissions, the amount of jobs that are being lost due to regulations and the switch to alternative energies. The Navy is trying out biofuels in their newest fleet. And finally, the cost of human life and everyday produce we take for granted to make enough palm oil to feed the world demand for the biofuels. So as I mentioned earlier, we are now only realizing what we are doing to our planet, and it's starting to make some huge changes to it. And with the changes to the planet, we're starting to make some changes in our thinking. But you have to wonder, is it too late? In an article in the Journal of Environmental Health Study, they did, in an article in the Environmental Health, a study was done on 1,066 children, and from that, half of them lived close to a rail yard. They stated that in the past, many studies have linked chronic exposure to air pollution with a wide range of respiratory health outcomes, including retarded lung function and growth, asthma onset to exacerbation, wheezing, respiratory infections, cough, and other related symptoms among the children. So that were aged between 0 and 18. So they decided to do their own study. When they first started the study with the children, they found no significant differences between the males and females for most of the potential confounding factors, including age, race, BMI, time spent outdoors, exposure to ETS, neighborhood median household income, and background, non-rail related diesel exposure. Significant differences were identified for later on for the parent-reported doctor visits for asthma diagnosis, use of the asthma inhaler medications, and PEF and pheno breath test results. Approximately 42%, 452 children, were screened and identified as having respiratory health issues, and those are the ones that live within 2 miles of the rail yard. They went on to say, in our study, we observed differing adverse respiratory health endpoints by gender. Moreover, in a region characterized by poor background level air quality, both genders were at risk for experiencing adverse respiratory health outcomes. Compared to females, males were significantly more likely to exhibit elevated pheno values indicative of airway inflammation, but significantly less likely to experience low PEF. Our grandparents made some really poor decisions when it came to the environment. Our parents had a lot of ignorance in what we were doing to our planet. And our generation, we kind of sat idly by for a long time, not doing anything to help our planet. And now we're starting to affect our children. Thankfully, people are starting to wake up, and with technology, we're able to start doing something about it. As in an article in the Environmental Science and Technology had. That article was titled Environmental Comparisons from Alternative Fuel Buses and Diesel Buses with a Chassis Diameter Testing Facility. So what they did was they tried out a bunch of different biofuels and hooked up a tester to the exhaust, and saw what they got. So most of the vehicles tested were powered with an alternative fuel such as natural gas, representing both compressed natural gas and liquefied natural gas, alcohol fuels including M100, 100% methanol, E93 is 93% ethanol, 5% methanol, 2% K1 kerosene by volume. E95 is 95% ethanol, 5% gasoline, and BD20 is 20% soy biodiesel and 80% number 2 biodiesel by volume. Lastly was BD35, 35% soy biodiesel, 65% number 2 biodiesel by volume. And then they also tested the conventional number 1 and number 2 biodiesels. The NG has the lowest PM emission levels when compared with the other fuels. The average PM emission level of the NG is only 0.03 of the CVT driving cycle. The N100 and the E9395 had the second and third lowest levels at 0.26 and 0.247. And then their levels are significantly lower than those of diesel. Based on these results, natural gas and alcohol fuels are considered to be very promising alternative fuels because they satisfy the environmental need for PM reduction. So as the studies are showing of alternative fuels and are great for the environment, what are they doing to our economy and job market? A magazine called Power Engineering, they had an article named Repowering a Shuttered Planet, a feasible alternative for decommissioning. They stated as regulatory restrictions have increased and renewable and cleaner sources of energy have become more available, smaller, less efficient coal-fired power plants are being forced to close. The consequences of these closures remove a source of electrical power, reduce the number of available jobs, and reduce the economic well-being of the local community. So as the technology is growing, we're actually putting people out of jobs. And although it is expensive and a lengthy process, it is possible to convert these old plants. The result was a cleaner source of power, a new revenue for the owner and the community. The key to this success was the demand requirements, the available source of the fuel, the condition of existing equipment, local support, and the creativity of the owner and the engineer support. So it's a very expensive, lengthy process, but it is doable. So our power plants are finding ways to help the environment. We're trying to find new fuel sources to help the environment, and it's all being pushed by the government. So it's fair to say the government should do something about the environment as well, and they are starting to with the Navy's newest fleet. An article in the English World Stream named Navy Carrier Group, powered by partially by biofuel, set sail. In this article, they mentioned the Navy had launched its first carrier strike group, powered partially by biofuel. It was a mix made of beef fat, calling it a milestone towards easing the military reliance on foreign oil. In this same article, they stated that critics, including environmentalists, say biofuel production is too costly and on a large scale may do more harm than good if it requires a lot of farmland, fertilizer, and fuel to produce the boss contends no land for food production will be used for the biofuels. So that's how they countered the critics. But this is already starting to happen in a small town and islands around the world. And such is the case in an island named Borneo. In the Wall Street Journal, they had an article named "As Alternative Energy Heats Up, Environmental Concerns Grow." Exploiting these alternatives may produce unintended environmental and economic consequences that offset the expected benefits. The island of Borneo has a thick haze, often encloses a city population of 500,000 people. The cause are forest fires have blazed across the island. Many of them were set on purpose to clear land to produce the palm oil. Some experts are also concerned that crops for biofuels will compete with other farmland, possibly driving up global costs for basic food production. So what they're stating is that we got an island now where people have to walk around with masks on because they can't breathe right. And we're clearing forests for land, and as we try to produce more biofuel, we're actually going to take away the land that we need for our crops. So obviously we have a lot to think about in moving into the future. So today I talked about the study researching on respiratory disorder with children living near the railroads, research done by city buses, and biofuel and the test of the emissions, the amount of jobs being lost due to regulations and the switch to alternative energies, the Navy trying out biofuel with their newest fleet, and finally, the cost of human life and everyday produce that we take for granted to make enough palm oil to feed the world demand. In order to move forward and produce a livable world for our great-grandchildren, the time to act is now. But there are a lot of issues that need to be worked. In the meantime, there are things we can do to conserve energy to help our future world. Go ahead and pan everybody again. Go ahead and pan everyone before you turn it off.